So where's my share screen? There it
Go.
is. And it was paused for some reason. Resume share. Let's see if it'll go back for me. Of course, we practiced this ahead of time to make sure it would work. So I'm going to do it again. And it's still not doing it. Is it thinking it's going to do it? And it's just not doing it. I think I'm doing it in the wrong order. Maybe that's what I'm doing.
I see a Zoom now.
Now, why is it doing that? Okay, we practiced this, we had it all up, and I'm going to try one more time. Share. Why is it doing the Zoom thing?
Oh no, when you go
Katie,
into
Katie
share,
Watson, can you help out at all?
It just keeps coming up as the Zoom instead of the actual.
when you go into screen
What?
share, you need to pick, you'll see different
Yeah, I
pages.
did. I
Okay,
did.
and did you pick the one that you want to show?
Yes, and I'm afraid it's going to just disappear on me if I'm not careful now.
What are you looking to present from Safari, like from your browser or from an app?
No, I've got it on the little screen where it's got all the little ones. But it keeps coming up as Zoom instead. Trisha, can you share the one that you just?
Yeah, no, I was afraid you were gonna say that. That is my work computer that was updating, so I jumped on my personal one.
Okay.
Let me see what I can do. I was afraid you were gonna say that. Let me see. Oh, but you made updates. I don't have that one. That's only
Okay.
on the work one.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to try this one more time, and I'm going to say share. There we have it.
Yay,
This is
community
not the one
engagement.
it's not the one I wanted to start with. So I'm just going to have to go from memory on what the other one is. I had made a little presentation on giving an update on Detroit's, where we are in the city of Detroit as well. So let me go to my, we don't really want to see all this stuff, right?
Yeah, you can go to slideshow and
Yep.
then start from the beginning.
Start presentation, yep.
You know what happens is I get this other stuff up on top,
Yeah,
and
you see the
it makes it so I can't get to.
oh, okay.
Oh, I'm going to go to view. There we go. And then I'm going to go to
slideshow. Fifth one down.
I know how to do all this, and it's like I just suddenly
Play from start. There you go.
Yeah.
Hit it.
I just suddenly
There you
like
go.
all of a
You're
sudden
full
everything goes
screen.
out of my head.
Oh,
So
good.
hello
This is
everybody.
the crowd participation part of the show.
As everybody tries to coach me through. And it's not the first time. That's what's so embarrassing. I've done many slideshows, and for some reason it just. Hi everybody. Today we have a really exciting guest because we've been kind of hinting for quite some time that we were going to talk about the neighborhood solar project here in Detroit. And I had a previous slideshow I was going to show, but that's the one that wouldn't load for me. So instead, I'll just talk you through it. Detroit has a history, a long history of being very slow at starting with solar for many, many, many reasons. And primarily, I would say it was just an economy that wasn't ready for solar. Numerous building owners did go ahead, such as buildings that I've worked with, of getting solar, but it was a very slow start. And the fact that we now are launching a solar initiative for the city of Detroit, where 127 municipal buildings will be, I'm trying to find the right word to use it, Trisha, and I know you'll do it better than me, but will be powered through electricity supported by city solar fields right here in the city of Detroit. So it's been a long process. We've been kind of hinting at it for well over a year now. Started in about June of 2023, and now just at the end of July, City Council did approve the process and the funding for the program, and so it is now moving forward. Just to put this in relative terms of where we are, Detroit, every year, our solar committee for the Green Task Force in Detroit would give an update on where we are in the solar world for the United States. And using national studies, we saw that we were number 67 out of 70 cities nationwide, which kind of put us way down at the bottom of watts per capita. With this new program, we're going to be about smack dab in the middle of the national. So we're going to launch ahead up to 33rd in the country for the amount of wattage per capita, which is just an amazing feat. And so we're very excited to have the opportunity to share with Great Lakes Renewable Energy Association and its members what Detroit is doing to vault us into the solar world and really have not just solar. I mean, that is not interesting anymore. Everybody has solar now. What Detroit is doing is something that is totally novel in that using the vacant land that we're so famous for to provide the land for the solar. And this will not only be the innovation of how to use vacant land and how to be productive, but also rethinking the total map of Detroit with other uses for vacant land. So kickstarting this off, we have Trisha Stein, who's our Chief Strategic Policy Officer for the city, and she's going to be walking us through the program. So Trisha, you did see what I had done.
That's
so
fine. Yeah.
You are on with the project overview, and just take a look at this map, by the way, in the background, 139 square miles in the city of Detroit. So we have a lot of land, and of this land, we have estimates that about 40 square miles of this land is vacant. And so a lot of it from abandoned factory sites, neighborhoods emptying out, a lot of reasons, but this is surely going to be an amazing way to redevelop urban cities. And I know we're going to get a lot of research done on Detroit because of it. So I'm done talking. Trisha, I'm going to click through for you. Just kind of
Great.
point when you're ready. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead. So I welcome the opportunity to share with you, because it feels like we have been planning this and talking about it for a while. So we are approved with City Council. So just want to frame it out just a titch more. Diane teed me up well and teed up this conversation well, but just want to talk to you about what we're doing. So there is 127 municipal buildings. They will get their power, though, traditionally the way we've been doing it. So we're not changing that. What we are doing, though, is we're tying back the renewable energy that we are generating to their use. So that's how they tie together, that we are making sure that we are offsetting the current use, which is equal to about a 33 megawatt facility, 55,000 megawatt hours on an annual basis. And that is the goal. So phase one, we're going to drill down here in a minute, does about 2/3 of that. We got 21 megawatts that are being developed. And why solar? Let's just start here. This is something that City Council asked many times. So that's how this slide got developed, is why solar in the city of Detroit? And so when the mayor launched this a year ago, as Diane said, and it's a conversation that she reminded the mayor when we were talking about this just a couple of weeks ago, is 3 years ago, she and the Green Task Force met with the mayor and asked, when is the city going to be, leading on solar? When are you going to do solar? And the mayor said, when the residents ask for it. So that's what we've really been intentional about our community, which we're going to also talk about here in a minute, but our community engagement. And when the mayor launched it June last year and said, now is the time. If the mayor, if the mayor said if the residents want it, and put out an application for residents to locally host solar in their neighborhoods, then that's what we do. We said, or we could do what a lot of other cities are doing. Cleveland is doing wind turbines in Lake Erie. Chicago is developing solar near Springfield in rural areas. He said, well, we could do that too in Michigan, but why not host it locally? So as we started talking to City Council, we developed this slide and some facts to show why is it important to do it here in the city, because it certainly could cost less from just a pure development standpoint, just from a PPA price or VPPA price of to develop rural would be less expensive than locally, but you wouldn't get all these benefits. So that's really what I just want to chat about before we dive in and talk about more of the details. But so the residents responded, and they really responded because a lot of their neighborhoods are full of vacant parcels, parcels that have been disinvested for decades, and they're prone to blight and illegal dumping and illegal activity, and so they wanted their neighborhoods to stabilize and be developed, and thought that clean renewable energy and some of the innovative approaches that we're going to talk about here as well with the developers that we selected would be a great way for their neighborhood to be part of climate change and be part of a very innovative solution. So as the neighborhoods applied to host local solar, they defined the boundaries of the solar area, and then they also defined a boundary around the solar area that those owner-occupied homeowners, and there's 159 in these 3 phase 1 areas, will get. Oh, we can go back real quick.
Oh, okay. I was going to show the map, but okay.
Oh, okay.
You're
We can
good.
bounce around. Well, okay.
Okay.
So they will get energy efficient upgrades, these owner occupied homeowners, to 15 to 25,000. So it really is defined on the boundaries, and then how many owner occupants are in there is what the range is. Also investing in Detroit neighborhoods will stabilize, as I said, because these are areas that have got a lot of high vacancy and prone to illegal and activity and legal dumping. What we've seen in the only one other urban solar area or solar park that we have developed in that area around the O'Shea neighborhood, take a look at it from 2017 to the latest tax year that we have, their property values went up 68%. And taking a look at the 8 finalist areas that we have, and similarly applying the same, take a look at their home values, they went up just a mere 16%. So we've seen that solar can stabilize a neighborhood and make those properties around it increase in value. Also, we can invest in the infrastructure and bring up the level of equipment and level of system. A lot of Detroit, most of Detroit is on the old 4.8 kV system because it was developed decades ago. So this development will have to be brought up to current standards to be able to sustain the level of solar development. So that investing in that locally will also increase the reliability around the solar developments in those neighborhoods. There's also great public health benefits but of course you all know this, so that we did spend a lot of time on City Council and had our public health officer explain the public health benefits for doing clean renewable energy and driving out dirty energy. Where do you want to go next?
Can I add, Trisha, just to that it was almost brutal having to attend City Council meetings week after week after week. And I'm sure our members will appreciate this, but the amount of myth busting that we had to do, where some of the media even were trying to side with, don't do it in Detroit. It was really shocking to me. And I declined a few interviews where they wanted me to say it's wrong. It just was really disturbing. But they put out, oh, there's heat islands. It'll make the city hotter. And so we had to walk it back, or our home values will go down. We had to walk it back. The health, and it just how to create a scenario to show that this is a healthy way for the city was really challenging. And it took about 2 months, didn't it, to get through all the brouhaha that was rising up. And I have to say, I'm very proud of all the city departments that did come through to support it and to show what all these benefits were. So if anybody out there is interested in the longer list of all this information that was gathered, it also helped bring in Michigan State and others to say, we will help analyze, we'll help you look at the next several years and to help prove out these facts. So I think with Michigan Public Service Commission, with others, this will be a great case study to prove out all these different benefits as it goes forward. I just threw this in because I thought
Yeah.
it was interesting what the community
Yeah.
engagement was.
Yeah, no, it's just to break down further. So the mayor last June announced it at a public meeting. And so then in response to that, 27 neighborhoods wanted to hear more all around the city of Detroit. So we hosted many community meetings, which Diane and a whole host of other subject matter experts, because we certainly at the city, we've become, we're a heck of a lot smarter at this than we were at the beginning, but really needed to get energy and environmental subject matter experts and really be a bridge between the residents and the city, because these are areas, as I said, have had decades of disinvestment. So they have by no means trusted the city nor development to say, to actually mean and say what they've been hearing for decades and or believe that anything was going to come to their neighborhood. So we're going to talk about that too. I got a little sneak peek of what's coming. I'll give you a little idea of what's happening in the next 2 weeks too. And so I'll tell you what the next steps are. So, but looking back, 19 neighborhoods last August were really serious. And after they learned more, we paired them with the subject matter expert, really drilled down and to learn more. November 1 was the deadline that we set. 10 neighborhoods formally submitted applications, designed the boundaries, as I talked about, for solar, and then also the energy efficiency upgrade boundaries as well. We selected 9 finalists. The mayor announced those on November 15th last year. And then we're down to 8 right now. 3 of them were selected and approved with contracts and the resolution of necessity to move forward. And we're hoping that all goes well these next few months. And Q1 of 2025, we will launch phase 2, and we'll pick another 3 neighborhoods to really get to our goal of that 33 megawatt development, and then to produce 55,000 megawatt hours. All right, where are we going next? Oh, and there's the map. Oh, you want to just flip back to that because you did want to show the map. We got better maps here in a minute, but that just to show the totality of the city, and the 8 finalist areas that we have right now are all there. And then we've got more detailed maps if anybody's interested.
And if anybody's like me and you've got your faces off to the side, you can shrink those down and you can see there's a couple east side Detroit. We have east side, west side, but they did end up being in neighborhoods pretty much where there was a lot of industry in the past, and a lot of that housing for the industry just disappeared.
Where's number 8 on the map?
What do you mean?
No, when you see those numbers on the map, those numbers are districts in Detroit. So the
It's
far
8 finalist areas.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the numbers do not correspond. The numbers are the district area, exactly what Diane said.
Okay, so the little red outlined areas are the finalists.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is a description of the first three areas. So State Fair, Gratiot, Findlay, and the airport Van Dyke Lynch area are the first three that just got approved by City Council. Just to give you an idea, can we go back though
I'm
before
sorry.
we show
I'm-
this? This slide I just find fascinating.
Yes.
It is so while I talked about the energy efficiency and the community benefit areas have 159 owner-occupied homeowners. In this three areas, there's 105 acres. The solar areas, there are 22 owner-occupied homes. So just to give you an idea of the level of density and vacancy that exist, 182 private lots. The majority are publicly owned either by the land bank or the county or the city of these areas, just to show the really high level of vacancy and public ownership versus private ownership. And then the
And-
bottom is what I talked about is the 159 owner occupants, which surround the solar areas that will get the energy efficiency upgrades.
And part of the criteria in the beginning too, you know, originally so many neighborhoods applied and then getting it down to that 10. The city was not interested in taking out viable housing neighborhoods. So they really did select the neighborhoods that had this greatest amount of vacancy. And that was another key point for people to keep in mind as they go through. And this chart clearly illustrates how much vacancy there was. And then here's a map. Trisha, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that's great. I like this. So here's one of the areas. This is Van Dyke Lynch. So just to the, well, I'll say right, I was going to do a direction, but let's just stick with these maps. To the right of it is the city airport. So we have a level of development that's happening there. And the city already owns all the parcels between that blue line and red line for airport expansion and development. So this was a way to work together with this planned development and do renewable energy as part of the airport expansions. We worked really closely with them and in our consultants that are helping us, and then stabilizing the area that is around all of those yellow rectangles are owner-occupied homeowners that will get the energy efficiency that are inside the red, and then inside the blue is the solar area, that 42.3 acres that will be developed with solar.
And there is a DTE facility close by, right?
There
Substation.
is, yes. So DTE, yes. So let's do that at this one.
I
So
found that fascinating.
it's right there. Yep. There is a substation.
Yeah,
So
so it's nice
DTE
and close.
was exactly, which will really help with the interconnection. So DTE was the selected vendor for this site. We selected 2 vendors to do the 3 areas, and then they will share the next 3 as well. So each of them will have 3 areas when we finish phase 1 and phase 2 is our vision. So DTE is developing this one, and then as Diane said, there is a substation right near, which made their VPPA price more competitive.
Yeah. So those little yellow rectangles are the houses outside that blue, but inside the red, that will be getting $15,000 per household, per home for energy upgrades. And was so critical to this whole plan, is that everyone in the neighborhood benefits with a cleaner site, as well as having an upgrade to their own home. And annual savings after that too with the upgrades.
Absolutely.
It's a win-win. There
So
it is.
yeah, here are just some ways that we, and this is in the contracts we negotiated. This is what the developers will do as part of their development and part of their initiative is energy efficiency upgrades. Here are these 10 options that will bring down the energy prices and make homes more stable. Detroit is extremely energy burden for households across the city, so this was an important piece that we wanted to do. So while the neighborhood benefits from the investments for the solar area with upgrade of infrastructure and equipment, we also wanted the homeowners to benefit directly, and the goal really is to get them solar ready. And if they are solar ready already, then we put in the residential solar panels would be part of the benefit.
And another program too, which we might touch on for a moment. Walk
Yeah.
us through this, Trisha.
Of course. So this is just it was a flow chart. As Diane said, there was a lot of education that needed to be done
Yeah.
when we went to, and these are not, these aren't very straightforward contracts. So we really needed to have a chart that explains it. And so hopefully we did it with this. This is a virtual power purchase agreement. So these are VPPAs, and the city will own the land. So we, as I said, we've over 3/4 and some up to 80% in some areas. There's already public ownership, so we will acquire the rest of the land that's privately owned, and that is happening right now. We've got 15 closings in the next 2 weeks. These are voluntary closings for individuals who are ready to go inside the solar area. They'll be paid a minimum of $90,000 for owner occupant homeowners. The average price is around $125,000. That's for their required under the state statute for their home value, and then do an increase on that, and then the rest of there is moving cost and relocation benefits. Once we attain all of the structures, then we will demo all the structures, and then we will continue to own the land. So we've cleared all 104 acres. We'll continue to own the land, turn that over to the developers, hopefully at some point early next year, 2025, and then they will clear it of vegetation. Solar developer will build the facilities. We're probably a year away from that with all of the permitting and environmentals, phase 1, phase 2 that they need to do. So then they will build the facilities on the land, but we'll continue to own and operate it. The city will also get all of the recs for developing this clean renewable energy. And we will pay for the generation of the solar. We will also get the benefit of the sale. So the revenue will come to us as well. So then we'll have a net price that we pay. There's also points in time of these contracts that we can purchase and run them ourselves. And then there's also baked in points of termination and a decommissioning. And so the developers must set aside funding, and either at termination or at the end of the contract. Both contracts are 30 years, and there's just a slight difference with Lightstar is at 25, but then the last 10 for tax purposes they pay us an additional payment. They pay us a lease payment, but they're 35-year contracts, excuse me, both of them, and then they have to decommission the site and take it back to its original way they get it before they develop it.
Okay. We'll have questions and answers in a bit.
Okay.
Okay.
Here is as I talked through a couple of these from a timeline standpoint, there is what phase we are in now with the developers is the next step, and it'll start mid-September. They will meet with the neighbors, similar to the group that applied to host solar, and negotiate an agreement. This is also built into their contract. And so the neighborhood agreement will talk through what does the fence look like, and the vegetation, and what the design and what it looks like for screening and basic lighting and landscaping. And so that's the phase that we're in now. And we talked about this will take about 18 months. This was in July when we were meeting with City Council. So our goal is really to have it fully up and built and commissioning start at the end of 2025. So are we going to look at the pictures next? I know you reordered this deck just a bit. Yeah. So here's just a art of possible. We have done no renderings on purpose because we really want the community, since they applied for this, they are the ones that raised their hand to locally host solar arrays. This is an art of possible of what could be. And so the DT was one developer, as I said. The second developer is Lightstar. They are a national expert on agrivoltaics. And so this was part of the reason why we did select them, because there is such a deep and rich ecosystem of urban farming in the city of Detroit. And we thought that this could be a design element and also an additional benefit that could come from these solar arrays in the community to produce food and have it year round. It's another way to utilize the land in a mixed way, and also combats that myth about heat islands, because it actually makes it cooler with this type of development. The rain and the runoff is also help from vegetation and watering. And so this will all be developed part of the neighborhood agreement and design if the neighbors, this is something that they so choose. And then there's a whole business plan that goes with this, the arrangement with the urban farmers. Seeds will be provided, they will be paid, so it's part of the maintenance plan. And while Lightstar is a national expert and very excited to do this in their two areas, which is Gratiot, Findlay, and State Fair. DTE says, while that wasn't part of their bid and they're not national and they're not experts on it, if this is something that the neighbors want, that this is something that they could also include and figure out as part of their design.
And the neighbors meet in September for their first meeting?
Mid-September. Yep, we'll start in mid-September to do those meetings, and our goal is to have those done by the end of October.
And guess who will be there?
We all will, but you
Yeah.
will for sure, yes.
Yeah, so we're pretty determined that DTE is going to do exactly what the neighborhood wants. So we're happy to be part of that too.
Me too.
What, do you have a minute to maybe talk about our Solar for All and how that might tie
Sure.
in with this?
Sure, I will do it on a high level, and then any
Okay.
questions on
Yeah.
this or that. So we are part of two awards for Solar for All that we're very excited about. They're $256 million awards. One is with the state of Michigan. So we think that we'll probably get, because it's based on census tracts and based on what EJ and CGIST census tracts. So we feel like we've got 20 to 25% of those in the state just doing just pure math. So we're hoping to get a pretty big chunk of that allocation. And so the state is in the process of hiring a project manager for Solar for All. And there's a year-long planning process that we will take part of. So hopefully next summer we will roll this out, and it's going to be very similar to what we envision of the energy efficiency upgrades and getting homes solar ready is what we proposed. And so while we're only doing a scale of 159 houses in this phase one, we'll take that to scale and do thousands of homes with this money and with the partnership with the state to then get more homes solar ready. That's the first one. The second one is multiple cities in multiple states. It's called the Heartland. That's another 156 million, but they're probably, I don't know, 18 to 20 cities. So we're gonna have a smaller portion, but what we propose there is a community solar light, if you will. It's around affordable housing complex and do solar developments to then lower energy bills for their residents. So that again is a year-long planning process and figure out how and where we put that and what it looks like. But it really is to very much focus and partner with our affordable housing developments.
And
so
as
more to come on that.
as I opened with how we were at the bottom of the list nationwide. With these three initiatives, we will most certainly be climbing up and becoming known as, and I heard the mayor say this at the Kamala Harris rally last Wednesday. And yes, there was a crowd that big, of 15,000. I was there.
You didn't imagine it?
I didn't imagine it, but I heard the mayor say at the very end of his speech, and we're making the Motor City a solar city. And I was like, yes. So he got it out,
excited.
and he's very excited. He's very excited to be a part of it. So with that, I think we can start asking questions of Trisha. Thank you so much for taking the time, first of
Yeah, of
all,
course.
to share all this exciting news with us. And this is not just a big boost for the city of Detroit, but for the state of Michigan, and really helping us all understand how the economics of this can work in an urban environment, I think is the number one
Yes.
lesson learned that we'll be going through, because we all know it's more expensive to do an urban project. And that
Again,
was a
just,
big,
yeah, thank you for taking me back there real quick. Just from a pure PPA price it is from a development, but yet that when you add on all of the benefits, and that's the
Mhm.
math that we did do for city council, the benefits far outweigh when you do
Right.
it in a local area. So jobs is one that I forgot. So there's at least 100 jobs that the developers are committed to for Detroiters, and that's just for construction. So I think that there's additional ones that will come for as the
The
development
urban
continues.
farms, right? The food
Exactly.
produced, the cooling effect. I mean, it's going to be a fascinating study for the next several years to be able to show how this is going to change. Well, let's open it up to questions, because this is a pretty novel idea. And I'm sure there are lots of questions. So if we go to the chat, or you can raise your hands. Anybody want to get started with questions for us? David.
Yes, I was wondering how you balance between security for the sites and integration into the neighborhood. I can see there's a lot of thought going into beautification, but presumably there's also got to be security. You don't want teenagers going in there and committing vandalism. So what kind of security will you have?
Yeah, so there will be a fence. It won't be open to the public, so it will be all fenced off. As I said, we've had a urban solar array in the O'Shea neighborhood since 2017, and there hasn't been any
Never.
vandalism. There hasn't been any. So we do have a history of that, but there will be a fence, not open to the public. And we have talked about, and there it's in the neighborhood agreement as well. That will be negotiated if there's cameras. If there's additional lighting, so the neighbors can dictate. We intend to leave the street lights up because we're not pulling out the streets, because these will all be ballast systems that they build. So they'll build them right on top and over the streets, and then that will also leave the underlying utilities and infrastructure that if needed, that can get access to. So we'll see if the neighbors feel like cameras is something that they want in additional lighting. But as I said, the O'Shea neighborhood, we haven't had that issue.
Thank you.
People don't know what to do with solar panels, is what I've learned in a city environment. They're pretty novel, and I think they just leave them alone. I've seen plenty of them out in neighborhoods as standalone arrays too, and nobody's touched them. But thank you for that question. It's a good.
Yeah, can I just follow up really quickly? What kind of fencing? Will you be able to see these solar fields from the outside?
So that is exactly what the neighbors, we want to have them decide. So the pictures that we showed in the deck are just existing solar arrays. We'll have some options that we show as part of the charrette that we will do with the neighborhoods, and just again show the art of possible, and see if they do want some screening, if they do want it to, if you can see through it, and what level of opaqueness that they're looking for.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions that people might be thinking of?
don't know how to raise up the hands. I have a question.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a Xiaokang Lu from Ann Arbor.
Uh-huh.
My question is in April, I installed the solar panel for my house. Okay, I spent like 25,000 to do the installation panels. So then I got a homeowner insurance notice says my house has the value is increased to like 100,000 because
Wow.
I increased that. So I'm not sure it's a normal or like it's I don't know, because before I never saw this kind of thing. Till homeowner insurance contacted me, say this I need to pay more money for the like homeowner insurance. But then they asked me paid that. Then I said I paid that is based on the value, how the value went up. Then he said, oh, your value is increased 100,000. Then I said, hey, I just spent 25,000.
Wow. Can I suggest that maybe that's a question that GLREA could help with the homeowners perspective? John Freeman, is that something that anybody has any response to?
So she's
Homeowners
saying that her
getting increased?
homeowner's insurance policy went up as a
That's
result
what it
of
sounds like.
and
Yeah.
who prompted you to have to pay more for insurance? Was it the insurance company or was it the city?
No, insurance company, because I buy the homeowner insurance from the company, from the like a farm bureau or whatever, like insurance. You know, it's for the homeowner insurance, not
Yeah.
from the city.
Maybe we could get your contact information. If John, can you message to get contact information? And that sounds like a GLREA general kind of question.
okay. Yeah,
As
because-
an association, we're talking about with the city of Detroit solar fields going in. So I don't want to mix apples and
I'm sorry,
oranges here.
I'm
No, it's okay. I'm glad you're.
I live in Ann Arbor. I don't know.
Right.
Should I still contact the Detroit city?
No, John Freeman, Executive Director of Great Lakes Renewable Energy Association, is on the call here, and he can probably help direct message you to get some.
Okay. Give me some direction.
Right. If
Yeah,
you can
because-
just
yeah.
take that conversation offline, that would be great.
Okay, that's
Okay.
great. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
Because I was
okay.
confused.
Sure.
Like,
Well, I
yeah.
understand. Yeah, we're talking about a municipal project here, not homeowners. So,
Okay.
but thank you. Thank you for joining us.
So there was
Um,
a question put in the chat about which media outlets were giving you a hard time.
Should I name it, Trisha? I don't know.
Yeah,
If that's,
that was precisely the point of my question, Diane.
Yeah,
We'd like you to
yeah.
name it.
well, there's an online news media, Planet D, and I know the writer who was doing this. He contacted me, and we talked it through, and they were taking an approach of as if neighbors would not want this in their neighborhood. And so that got passed around a lot. And we just have to prove them differently. But I was surprised. I was genuinely surprised, even when I was talking to him. I know the person very well. And he was just taking a.
Did you ask why they were promoting that particular direction?
There were some residents, and Detroit's got a lot of different types of activist organizations. I participated in a number of activities with a number of people. And this was more a protest as if people were being evacuated against their will, or something being thrown upon them against their will. And we kept trying to explain, there has been an exhaustive community engagement process. Neighborhoods are asking for this. Not if, I had some people in other districts calling me to say, we don't want it, and I said, well, then don't vote for it. It's as simple as that. The mayor made it very clear. If your neighborhood doesn't want it, say you don't want it. And another neighborhood will get selected. But it's like they got stuck on that issue. As if people, I mean, even as recently as the very last meeting with city council, people were still trying to trot that out, that eminent domain and
Thank you
people
for
were being
explaining
forced
it.
out.
Thank you for explaining it further.
Okay.
That's helpful.
Okay. Mike, question?
Got a couple of questions. Number one, there's other cities in Michigan that has a similar profile as Detroit, with lots of land that's not being used for anything. For instance, Flint and Saginaw. Do you think
Mhm.
this model would fit there? If so, would you would you be willing, or have somebody be willing to be a consultant to institute such a similar program? And I guess number three, is this truly community solar? This isn't truly community solar, is it?
No, this
It's
is
not
not.
community solar, no.
Trisha, have other cities contacted the city yet?
Not yet. I think folks, and I don't disagree, and Diane, you and I talk about this all the time, like we can't believe that this is actually happening, because it's been a slug. Is I think they're waiting to see if it really, if we're really able to do it, and we've crossed a lot of hurdles. And you know, next week we start closing on voluntary purchases, and I just got the number right before I came on. We got 15, which is amazing. So I think once we actually start building it, and folks really see it happening, I gotta believe there are gonna be a lot of calls.
Lisa.
Hi, I don't have a question. I just want to say kudos. This is really exciting, and I'm especially happy to see not only is the solar great by itself, but the agricultural part of it is
Yeah.
really, what a wonderful thing you're doing. I look forward to watching it, following it.
Thanks. Yeah, we're really excited. But as I tell you, Diane and I check in all the time, like, oh my God, this is happening. We're doing it. Because there's been it's not been that straightforward, but I do think that there is a path. To Mike's question, I do believe that there's a path, and that we'll be able to show, and hopefully we've got some best practices, because we've certainly had a few lessons learned so far. So we'll have some best practices to show folks.
Right, there isn't an example that we were able to go immediately to in the beginning.
No, the
so-
closest is Houston, and I just talked to them, and with their Sunnyside development, but that's all, and that was a landfill, that was all, it's inside a neighborhood, but it was a landfill, and it's a slightly different project, and they're really still trying to figure out their community benefits. So, but that's the closest from a size and a scale, and close to a neighborhood.
Katie.
Yeah, I want to start by saying this is really awesome. Congratulations on getting the project this far. Super exciting. But I remember you mentioned that these sites would be decommissioned after 25 or 30 years.
Yes.
Do you have any plans for what will be done with the land after that? Would they just do another solar project there? Are there any thoughts on that plan?
No, and we were asked that, and so I think that it would have to be part of a planning discussion and neighborhood engagement, very similar to what we've done, and figure out what the community wants, and see where renewables are, and what type of development makes sense. But these will be areas that are all cleared, and could sustain a similar type of development, depending on where technology is, or a different type. Or green space. I mean, it all depends on what the community wants.
And
Makes sense.
I like to think that, and what I've told the neighborhood I worked with over and over again is that you're going to be a star neighborhood. Urban planners from around the world, I mean, they come to Detroit to study urban farming. They're going to be coming to Detroit to study what does a solar farm do to a neighborhood, and how that neighborhood will change. So in 35 years, not that we'll see it, but in 35 years, it could be that the whole neighborhood around it has developed in a way that that solar field is the anchor, or it offers a all new site for new ideas.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool. John Sarver, question.
Yeah, I was wondering if was there any difficulty in drawing the boundary for the community benefits, because it's a significant benefit to get, $20,000 for your home. And I could see how people may have different opinions, who should be included and how to
Yeah.
draw the line.
Yeah, well, Diane was there. I'll just give you a broad brush, and I'm sure she could take a deeper dive. If some communities came back with these boundaries that didn't make sense, I mean, they were way across the area, and there were really it didn't make any sense. But for the most part, neighborhoods use natural boundaries, and so mile roads or Gratiot or pretty big that made sense, or a contiguous neighborhood that they that's pretty traditional. Did Van Dyke Lynch? Probably not, because with the airport, there was so much, yeah.
Yeah, and Detroit, because of the grid system that we have, I mean, there are some pretty solid boundaries for a lot of the neighborhoods. So I think in the beginning, there was a much bigger boundary drawn, and then the reality of how to make those boundaries work really was what the neighborhood self-identified as. This is our boundary.
Yeah.
And one interesting outcome, I think I could add, again, these were forgotten neighborhoods over and over again, that the industry had left, most of the housing, most of the people left behind were senior citizens that just couldn't move. And so the opportunity, we had one gentleman who came to the city council meetings time and again to say, I am so happy, I'm so grateful the city is purchasing my house and allowing me to move to an area that will, and a relocation expert is working with each family or each homeowner to help them find a solution to where they will move. And they get double market value, or 95,000, whichever is the lowest, 90,000. So suddenly they've got a lot of spirit in them on where they're going to go and how this is going to help them. So the neighborhoods themselves, the side benefit out of this is that they got organized. These were neighborhoods that really had lost that ability to have the block club anymore, or to have, because it was just emptied out. And now they're coming to regular community meetings. They're excited about the next step of the process of how to redesign their neighborhood. And that's where they identified as neighborhood. This is where we are. This is our neighborhood. We're getting it back. We're reclaiming our neighborhood. So very exciting process to help. I'm more than thrilled that I get to be a part of this. Any other questions coming up? I was expecting hard questions like, how are you financing this? There's a lot of details on funds that are being used for the relocation, for the acquisition. That's pretty novel, but we don't have to go there if we don't need to. Next month, the Detroit Solar Story, the third Thursday, will feature Tepfira, who will, with the Lightstar developer, be going through how they proposed these agrivoltaics as well. So we'll have a much deeper discussion on that and what those benefits will be. And we'll also have an update to help people, it'll be a month later. And we're just starting this second phase now of actually getting back into the neighborhoods. So it'll be a journey that I think with Solar Stories with GLREA, we'll be able to share our progress. So by all means, stay in touch with us as we move through this and become an example for the whole state on how we're going to be making the Motor City a solar city. I like that. Any other questions or comments? My chat is not opening, so I'm, for some reason, oh, they're there. Okay. Thank you all. No, no questions in there either.
While we wait for another question, let me just mention that, next week, we're going to have a member meeting on Thursday. And you'll be getting a notice on Freeman about that. And 2 weeks from tonight, we're having Dale Klein come back to talk about time of use rates, which are can be confusing to folks. We had a session quite a while back. I think there's continuing interest in people trying to figure out their utility bills, especially DTE bills. So we have a couple of programs coming up in the next 2 weeks that I think will interest folks.
Especially if you have solar, what's the best way to read those bills? It's a little confusing. Oh, yes. David,
Yeah.
another question?
Yeah, just a question of clarification here. The electricity generated does not go directly to the municipal buildings, but it
No.
just goes to DTE.
To the
And-
grid.
It goes on the grid. It's sold, it's part of the grid, sold in the wholesale
Yeah.
market. Yep.
Okay, and it's just supposed to approximate the amount of power that's used by Detroit's municipal buildings.
Mhm.
It's an off, yep, exactly. We're equaling what our usage is to
Yeah.
develop that for green energy, and we'll get all the recs.
Got it. And how,
And-
and when I said DTE, you corrected me and you said it goes on the grid, but how is it different to say it goes on the grid rather than it goes to DTE?
Will it also be sold on the wholesale market?
So
That's how
DTE,
go ahead, Diane.
DTE has to purchase the electricity that goes on the grid from the city of Detroit. I guess is the simplest way to put it.
Right.
So it'll
Who
be
else who else would purchase it other than DTE?
It's on the market. So that's another whole solar story we could do, is how the wholesale market works, and what the rates are and how they go up and down, and how DTE can claim that they have to charge us so much between 4 o'clock and 7 o'clock during the day because of the price of the wholesale market, but it will go on the wholesale market. And I don't claim to be an expert on that. Is anybody
This
on
is
the-
a question for the developer, but what rec market are you tapping into? Because Michigan doesn't have a rec market, rec turbo. So are they pulling from the Ohio market?
What?
Or don't you? Then that may not be a question you can answer, because that's probably a developer question.
Yeah. Detroit keeps the recs.
Yeah,
Detroit is
yeah,
not
I'm not-
selling. the
Yeah, no, I understand that part.
recs. Okay.
But so you're not selling the recs then?
No.
Nobody's selling.
We
the
have
recs.
no intention of selling the
Okay, so
recs, no.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, all right. Okay. Solves that.
Yeah, this is how,
Exactly.
yeah.
It's exactly it. So
Yeah.
we'll keep them to show in, there's a greenhouse gas reduction ordinance that city council approved in 2019.
Right.
So it's to be compliant.
Which is another really important point, is that the city, with its climate change action plan that was just passed in the last year, we're hitting 2 of the 4 major goals. The first being to convert to a renewable energy economy in Detroit, and the other is to reduce greenhouse gases. So with this one project, 2 of the 4 goals of the city to reduce climate impacts in the city are being hit. Very progressive. So I think that brings us pretty close to our 8 o'clock stop. I'd like to thank everybody for joining us for Great Lakes Renewable Energy Association's weekly talk. And happy that we can present a solar story from Detroit that has so much magnitude And we'll be presenting more as time goes on. Next month, again, the third Thursday, we will be talking more specifically about the photovoltaics, the agrivoltaics. I've got to make sure I've got that in my vocabulary quickly. And what the impact of that will be as well here in Detroit, and the opportunities to share such a large scale agrivoltaic project nationwide. I think we've got Michigan State involved with that one, so we'll be able to talk more about that. So thank you everybody for joining us. I hope you're all members. We always like to stress that, but keep in touch, and we will see you next month or next week.